Good evening, everybody. This is Rob and Jordan, and we are back with Archangel Ink Live 54. Jordan, is that right? Or 55?
54, I believe.
54. All right, perfect. Well, it's good to be back. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm ready to rock and roll on this subject. I think it's an important one. It's one of those like side subjects, I think, that you sometimes it's like an afterthought, but I think it's good stuff to know. So I'm excited to dive in with you tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Let's just jump right in. So the title of tonight is Draft2Digital, How to Get Your eBook Almost Everywhere. So we're just going to be talking about Draft2Digital. I know there are a number of options when it comes to publishing platforms, and with Draft2Digital, this is one example of what's called an aggregate publisher. And that means it aggregates your material and distributes it out to a number of different individual sales channels. And we'll talk a little bit about what Draft2Digital is specifically. Yep. And maybe in future episodes, we'll talk about some of the other aggregate publishers out there. But tonight, we're going to be talking about Draft2Digital because it's got some cool features that I think are worth talking about.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in first and say, like, kind of big picture topic. Why are we even using this? We talk about like aggregating. Really, it's a time saver, and that's why we talk about it as like this thing that can get your book out. And basically, it's so you don't have to go into iBooks, Barnes and Noble, Kobo, and create accounts in all of those places. Now, you certainly could, but basically, this is the place to. Okay, I'm going to sign up one place. I'm going to upload my book, make sure it looks good, make sure all the metadata is good, and then their Draft2Digital is going to push it out to those platforms.
Right.
So yes, we'll talk a little bit about what Draft2Digital takes. They take an extra. You can look at it as an extra 10% off of whatever royalties you're getting from those platforms.
Right.
But it does save you time in that you don't have to create an account everywhere, and it's definitely valuable in that way. So that's the big picture look down. Do you have any more to add on that one, Rob?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Aggregate publishers really are just a way to simplify the experience. You don't have to set up tax information and individual accounts with multiple different retailers, and some of the retailers can be a little bit idiosyncratic and not as intuitive to use. So if you have something that is centralized and straightforward in the way that Draft2Digital is, it can be a really good option and make sense in many circumstances.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool. All right. So we are going to cover here Draft2Digital Overview. So we started to talk about it a little bit, but the first section I have is how it works and what you need. So again, aggregate publishers, they'll like Draft2Digital, they will take your file and your metadata and distribute it to all of these various platforms. So Jordan, in terms of what you need, what should we be thinking about?
Yeah, I think just think of the basics. So if you're going to upload your book to Amazon, you need your actual book file, which in this case, I think we share a little bit later that it can be a doc version, doc or docx. Either one works there. It can be an RTF, which I believe stands for rich text formatting.
Rich text file.
I don't use that, so I wasn't 100% sure, but you can use RTF, or you can upload a pre-formatted EPUB file. And that's usually what I do because Archangel Ink does my formatting. Our formatting guy does that. I have it in EPUB, so I just upload that and everything works nicely. But you can upload it in doc form. So you need your manuscript in whatever version you have there, and you need your not Kindle, but your ebook cover, and then you also need whatever metadata you're going to put in. So basically, if you go through and you're definitely going to publish, we suggest you publish your book on Amazon separately. Anything you would need on Amazon, you're also going to need here. It's going to look a little bit different, but yeah, you're going to need your files. You're going to need all your information, hopefully just saved in a Google Doc or saved on a Word doc or somewhere that you can just copy and paste from. Get all your information there and whatnot. So it's going to save you a lot of time if you're prepared and have everything you need. But just consider it, whatever you're going to need if you're going to publish your book on Amazon, you're going to need it here too.
Yep. Yeah, I would say that's exactly it. If you have everything compiled and ready, then you can translate it more or less one-to-one into this other platform.
Yep, and I'll add just thinking about how it works. You're going to go into Draft2Digital, sign up for an account, and just hit create new book, and then it's going to process you through that. There's not going to be any upfront fees or any kind of membership you have to sign up for, which is really nice.
Right.
And you can just the process is fairly straightforward as far as signing up, like normal sign up for an account, put your username, password in and all that. And then it'll prompt you to get started, and then you can work on it from there.
And I imagine you also have to input your tax interview information, tax ID number and some sort of banking account information in order to receive payments on any royalties earned.
Yeah, absolutely. So they pay, and that's another really nice reason to have an aggregate publisher, is that any sales you make on any of the platforms is going to kind of get combined and made to you in one payment. So you only have to do that in one place. But you're going to have to put information there. Right.
And again, we've talked about this a little bit on previous videos discussing tax keeping and bookkeeping for authors. If you have an automated software, something like QuickBooks, that can work well. But if you are doing it manually, then not having 5 or 6 or 7 different payments coming in every month from different platforms can just simplify that experience a little bit. Not a huge deal, but it is nice to receive that one consolidated payment for tracking your income earned.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool. All right. So,
and Rob, I'll note on that one more thing while we're on the payment method. I just logged in real quick. I just wanted to see what my payment method was and what the options were. It does let me pay by PayPal. I know that's not an option that you can have on Amazon, so that's cool. Yep. There's also check, direct deposit, PayPal, and then Payoneer, which I know that's just another payment method. So that's cool. There are multiple different payment methods, but you do have to have, again, tax information on there because it's royalties. You're going to have a valid address on there and all of that stuff as well.
Yeah, that's a great point, especially if you are in a place where you don't have a U.S. tax ID number, but you are able to get something like a PayPal account, then you may be able to receive payments. If you're overseas or have a particular situation, then something like Draft2Digital might open up opportunities for you. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to in the audience. We've got Lance here mentioning this is perfect timing. I've set aside this month to set all my books onto Draft2Digital, so looking forward to the show. Awesome, Lance. I hope this is useful information for you. Let us know if you have any questions at the end of the video. We'll do our best to address any of them that you might have.
Yeah, and I'll share with that too, Rob. I was just thinking some of these questions, and even what you have to put in as far as tax information and all that, it gets so specific because it depends on location. It depends on so many factors that we could spend hours talking about all the different things in this. But as you're watching this video, definitely comment, reach out to us if you have any specific questions, or reach out to Draft2Digital. But we can be there and be on hand as much as we can to answer those specific questions.
Yeah. Absolutely. Cool. So we've covered how it works and what you need and how to use it to distribute your book. So talk a little bit about that, Jordan. What does that look like? How are we doing this? I know we covered it somewhat, but what are your thoughts?
No, sure. This is the fun part. So as soon as you upload and get your book on Draft2Digital, they just have a publishing section and you get to choose where you want it to go. Again, we don't recommend choosing Amazon, and Draft2Digital actually allows you to publish to Amazon, but they even have a note and says, hey, you may not want to do this. You might want to just go on Amazon and do it in that platform specifically, because Amazon could be so finicky with certain things. So yeah, you can publish it to other places. Like we mentioned before, Kobo, Barnes & Noble. You can even publish it to library platforms like Overdrive and Hoopla, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you can do it basically all in, you click through checklist and then you hit one button that says submit, and then it will submit to all those. So as far as how to use it to distribute your book, that's what this platform is. It's just one button, and it's pretty easy to do so.
Right. And then you can also opt out of individual platforms. For example, if I said, hey, for whatever reason, Kobo's not the place for me. I don't want to be present on that platform, but I'd love to be in libraries, for example. Yep. And you can make those individual choices per platform.
Yep.
Awesome. Cool. So let's talk about some of the pros and cons to using the platform. And let's see. Yeah. Thoughts in general. I can think of a couple, and I'll chime in on top of anything that you have.
Yeah, I think the biggest con, honestly, is thinking about, hey, 10%. Do I want to? Is it worth my time to go on each of these individual platforms and have an account and have everything set up there to avoid that 10%? Right. Now, it's a good question thinking, Rob. I don't want to say that and then maybe that you can tell me a little bit about this, but I'm not 100% sure that it's 10% on top of whatever like 10% on top of what Apple royalties will be. I don't know if I'm overcomplicating that in my mind, but that's something to maybe look into Is it 10%? And Draft2Digital has an agreement there. I'm not 100% sure, but that's something to look into and think. And I think that's probably, as far as cons go, I think that's the biggest one. Pros, mostly it's saving you time, and that's great. And I think anyone out there values time, and it can just be an all in one place. You don't have to, it's just a lot to manage if you think about having all those things in different places, different payments, different logins. I can go in one place and see my stats and not have to go and shoot to a bunch of different places. So yeah, I can think of a few more, but I think those are just the ones off the top of my head.
Yeah, my understanding is that the way this works is it's going to be 10% from your net proceeds. So whatever amount that ends up being, depending on the individual platform. So if you're ordinarily going to get 35%, they're going to get 10% of that. So about 3.5% of what the sales price generally would be. But yes, in terms of cons, that's the primary one. If you do have more, I've talked about this before in other contexts, if you have more time and energy than funds to invest in your self-publishing journey, and you're willing to put in that sweat equity and learn all sorts of different things, whether it's formatting or design or so forth, then it just makes sense to go and establish these individual accounts here. Maybe it's going to take you an hour, several hours a day, perhaps, if there's something very complicated about Kobo or whomever. But it is money out of your account that you're paying for. So there is that simplicity. I would say on the pro side, again, it is going to offer that time saving, and you may end up, hey, it's not worth it for me to spend a couple of hours setting up an account in each of these different platforms. But maybe you get a sale, maybe you get a handful of sales, and if you can do that in exchange for just a small portion of proceeds that you otherwise wouldn't have got any of, then maybe that feels like a good option. Another big pro that we'll talk about a little bit later is when you're looking at permafree books. Draft2Digital does allow you to make your books available at $0 and push it out to some of these other platforms. And then you can make the book in turn available on Amazon, also at $0, offered as a perma-free or permanently free option. So we'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment here.
Yep, good stuff.
Cool. So let's see, another element here, things to consider and watch out for. Thoughts on that, Jordan?
Yeah, so I was going to mention this earlier, but I wanted to wait until here. Just when you're thinking about, and I'll share my own personal experience. I mention Amazon in my books just offhand sometimes because I personally do a lot with Amazon. I think about it a lot. I don't even think about it when I'm writing my book. I may write a sentence and say something about Amazon. Well, when you're distributing to other platforms, especially iBooks for Apple, they do not like any mention. They don't want any mention to Amazon within your book at all. They'll flag that. Even if it's and I've had this, even in the middle of a book where I'm not necessarily referencing Amazon, I'm talking about Amazon like I would talk about Facebook or Google or something like that. Right. It doesn't matter. They still don't want to see that in there. So there's potentially some formatting issues and things you're going to have to go in and change. So if you're thinking about it from a high level, maybe if you're going to write a book and you're planning on using Draft2Digital or putting it to other places, think about that. Think about not even putting Amazon in there at all, or changing your verbiage as far as links go and whatnot. But yeah, be thinking about that. I have an Jordan's other books section at the end of my books that I put in there. And I believe my links are on my website, but they redirect to Amazon just because that's generally where I want people to purchase. So I think even in that, iBooks is putting that back and saying, we don't want you to reference or link to Amazon, which I get. I don't have any necessarily problem with it other than the fact that it's super annoying and difficult to have to go back through there and think about that stuff. So yeah, as you're creating your book and as you're putting it through, just think about those things. You might get some flags coming through. It's nothing necessarily that Draft2Digital is doing. So I didn't want to list it as a con on that platform because it would get kicked back within the individual. And again, it's actually easier for me to get one email from Draft2Digital saying, hey, your book's live in these places, but actually it's not in this place. Go specifically and let us know what you want us to do with that. So I think that's definitely what you want to watch out for. Other than that, there's not much. The process is pretty simple. But yeah, that would be one specific thing.
Right. This is a concern that's come up for authors in a couple of different contexts. I remember in the past, I've used other aggregate distributors, and I would change even just a simple review section, the ask for a review at the end. in the Amazon edition, I would say, hey, please go, back to my Amazon page and maybe even include a link there. I'd love an honest and thoughtful review and so forth. Can't do that in this context. So I'll say, adapt it to say, for example, please go back to wherever you purchased this book, or please go back to your retailer of choice, or something like that. Because again, they don't want you to use their system, especially if you're making a book available for free, to promote people going off to another platform. So not a huge deal, but it is something to be aware of, and appreciate the mention of that. All right, cool. So let's talk about a couple of other questions about Draft2Digital.
Mm-hmm.
So first question, why have your book off Amazon at all? Why not just go to where the big audience is and where most of the sales happen?
I think it's honestly a great question. I think you definitely want to be on Amazon. You want to focus a lot of your attention, and especially your marketing attention, on that platform.
Right.
But you can link on your website. Hey, if you want to read on iBooks, you can go here. And there are people out there that say, hey, Jordan, I want to purchase your book on iBooks or Barnes and Noble.
Right.
That's just what I'm used to. That is not the norm. Amazon is, in my mind, I feel like I've heard people say 80% of the market. Mm-hmm. I don't know where it is exactly at right now, but it's probably close to that. Most people are reading their books on Amazon Kindle.
Right.
But even if it's most people, you are trying to hit more. We're trying to hit more than most. We talk about this a lot, Rob. Mm-hmm. Like, we're trying to do the best we can to reach as many people as we can, and obviously be smart about our time. But if something like this can get it out there, why not? Why not have it on those platforms? Yeah, and I think honestly maybe that's too simplistic. But yeah, why not have it off Amazon? Unless you're going for KDP Select or anything, you're gonna have to think about that. If you go in the Kindle Unlimited platform, you're not gonna be able to put your ebook, mm-hmm. Or you're not gonna be allowed to put your ebook on these other places. So that's something to consider. But if you're not using KDP Select, you can go on these other platforms as soon as you launch your book, and you can launch it simultaneously.
Right. Yep. No, great points. It's not everybody has a Kindle device. I mean, a lot of people have mobile devices, iPads and mobile phones and so forth, so they can access the Kindle app there. But there are people, like you said, who, they have their Nook device, they have their Kobo e-reader, and they prefer those different platforms. And if you don't make it available on those different channels, then you're losing not the hugest slice of your potential buying audience, but some portion of your buying audience. So why not? Again, that question of KDP Select is important. If you've determined that is not going to be the path that you're going to take for your book, then this can be a really good option to make it available to all those other places with a reduction in the amount of time setting it up on those individual platforms.
Yep.
Cool. And let's see, we talked about this here a moment ago as well. If you want to make the book perma-free, you need it listed elsewhere. So I did want to mention just a quick shout out, because it is releasing today. Dale's book. Yeah, exactly. It's
Go Dale.
Go Dale. So his book, and I will include a link down below. Secrets of the perma-free book, and we have the great pleasure and honor to put together the typesetting and the cover design for it. So really fun book. Good, useful, important information, very actionable, very short and punchy. So definitely check that out if you're interested in going perma-free. But the big picture there is Amazon doesn't want to make your book available for free. They're a consumer platform. They want to sell your book and make some money off of it, even if it's only, a few cents, because the book is available, 99 cents, let's say, and they keep their 65% of that. They still want that money, because there are hosting fees, there are overhead costs that are associated with making anything available. So they don't give you the option to say, okay, I'm going to make it free for forever, permanently free. However, they do give you, they do have a vested interest in also price matching. So you can use these kind of dual goals that Amazon has to your advantage. And when you make your book available at $0 elsewhere, you can reach out to Amazon and say, hey, listen, my book is free on the iBook store, and it's free on the Kobo store, and it's free at X, Y, and Z other platforms. I'd like you to price match it. I'd like you to make it available at that price too. I'd rather buy it from Amazon. I'd rather download it from Amazon. What can you do to help me? And there's a little bit of a process to it. It's not always a one a one email kind of thing, which again Dale covers in his book. But if that is something that you're looking to do, then it is a way to do it. It's an avenue that's going to simplify that process and make that a little bit smoother and a little bit more accessible and a little bit more persuasive of a case when it comes to Amazon price matching at $0.
Yep, and I'll share, Rob, the process does work. My book Launch Gladiator, I have listed for free on Amazon because it's listed for free elsewhere. Now, I actually, with that book, when I launched it originally, I went back and forth between free and paid. I made a couple different switches in my mind and was able to do that. Now, I definitely recommend, if you can, avoiding doing what I did and going back and forth. It's just, again, you don't want to call attention to the fact that, hey, like, I want Amazon, I want you to price my book at whatever I want you to price it at, because they do always say, hey, this isn't something we guarantee. It's not something that you can choose. Like, we'll do it if it's in our interest to do so. So yeah, if you decide to put your book for free, try to keep it that way. I would suggest, again, just do what you can not to get on Amazon's bad graces. And I don't feel like I was, but it's one of those things you do the best you can. Because people get their accounts banned on Amazon for reasons that aren't. It just happens sometimes. Normally, those people are being a little bit more shady, but we won't get too much into that. But it is something to. It's not something to be paranoid about, but it is something to be very careful about too, especially as an author trying to set up a platform and business for yourself. It's worth mentioning. Yep.
No, great points all around. Let's keep it moving here. We've got next one. So what formatting will I need for my book? And so we covered this as well.
Yeah.
Will a .doc or .docx file work? And yes, the answer is a doc, an RTF, and an EPUB file are all accepted. So one file that is not going to be accepted is Mobi. Mobi is the Amazon specific or the Kindle specific format. And when you're uploading to Amazon, it's great to use that. However, for most other ebook devices, the EPUB is the generally recognized universal standard. And if you have access to that, then that is going to work just fine. But they do have their own built-in conversion software. So if you do have the material in .doc format or RTF format, then that's going to be an option for you as well. How is their conversion process to your knowledge, Jordan? Is it fairly consistent and reliable?
Yeah, I haven't, as far as converting from like doc to what they need. I haven't used that in a while. I think I used that for one of my books. Yeah. Most of the time I just upload the EPUB, but I think their platform is pretty robust. I mean, they talk a lot about it on their website. The fact that, hey, upload what you have, we'll format it for you. And I haven't used it in a while, so I can't say for sure. But I know that is something that they do focus on, and they do as part of their marketing. They say, hey, bring us your book file, and we'll format it for you. It may not be as automatic as, you just plug it in and then you're good to go. I think you do have to select some things. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think you have to choose like table of contents and stuff like that. So it's not just like a press and play, but you can get, it does good work there.
Great. Yeah. And that does remind me another resource I will add down below. It's just a free online ebook conversion software. Usually I just plug in the words convert to Mobi, but they have a number of different formats that you're able to upload and convert into. So if you have a pre-formatted .doc file and you want to convert that to Mobi or to EPUB or to any number of other file types, then this website offers a pretty good and consistent option. So what you can do, you can take that doc file, upload it to EPUB, for example, and then preview it on your own through an app like Calibre or the iTunes, the iBook app, and make sure that everything looks good. And if it doesn't, then you can adjust your source file, change it, make sure it's actually rendering the way that you want it to, and then upload only the finished file once you know that it's looking appropriate.
Yep.
Cool. All right. So let's jump on to the next one here. Can I use it to distribute to Amazon? Jordan, I don't even want to mess with Amazon. I just want Draft2Digital all the way. Can I do this?
Yes, you can. Don't do it, but you can.
Perfect. Yeah. And so what's the main reason, would you say, not to do it, not to use Draft2Digital to upload to Amazon?
Main reason is that you want to keep everything within your own KDP account, because that gives you access to doing ads It makes it less confusing. We've talked about that before as far as other publishers submitting your book. But yeah, you want to have your own KDP account and have everything kind of centralized there, mostly for ads, but it just kind of keeps everything in one place.
Right.
And if there's any issues, you don't want to have to go through Draft2Digital to have those maybe potential publishing delays. And it's just Amazon is set up for you to be able to do it through their platform, and everything is kind of updated and changed. I'm sure Draft2Digital keeps their system updated as far as distributing it to Amazon, but it's just easier and it's just better to do it through Amazon itself.
Yeah, in general, Amazon's a big player, and if most people end up getting most of their sales through Amazon, then saving that additional 10% from the aggregate publisher fee, I think it makes it worthwhile on its own. But the other key thing, as you mentioned, is Amazon advertising and just faster response time. If you're troubleshooting and dealing with issues, going directly through Amazon customer support can be really helpful. So yeah, great points there. Let's see, what is the cost, Jordan? What is the cost?
Yep, no upfront costs. The Draft2Digital takes 10%. We talked about that a little bit already, so I think we're good there.
Cool. Let's jump on here. Another question: does Draft2Digital offer paperbacks, and where do they distribute? So this is kind of new and interesting, and we have a link there which we will include down below so you can follow up about it. But yeah, what have you learned, Jordan?
Yeah, I think definitely that link has the most recent information. I knew that they did it. I didn't know it was still in beta mode. So I think that's something to consider whether you want to jump in there. And I don't know if there's any risks associated if it's in beta mode, but that's something to look at. But they do offer paperbacks. And yeah, the more information is in that link. I think it's definitely something you can pursue if you want to have your paperback book available. And again, you don't want to use Amazon, because I think Amazon distributes to other platforms. So I think the biggest question here for me would be, okay, they offer paperbacks, but if I already have my paperback on Amazon, then why am I doing this? So I think that could probably be a video in and of itself if more people had questions there. That seems a little bit more in depth than we have time for here. Sure. But it's a good question. Yeah,
absolutely. And so folks, if you're interested in that kind of topic, let us know. We can maybe do a comparison of KDP Print versus Draft2Digital, and maybe compare that as well to Ingram Spark, which is one of the other primary platforms that people make paperback editions available. All right, cool. So there are some more Draft2Digital FAQs available at that page. Again, this will be in the description, so feel free to check that out. But that was the idea. We just wanted to kind of give a quick overview and cover some of the benefits that Draft2Digital affords. We'll wrap up with the conclusion here. Have you used Draft2Digital? What features do you like best, and what questions do you have? So let us know. We do have some questions in the audience here, which we can address. So anything else you wanted to say before we jump onto that, Jordan?
No, I'm good. I saw some of the questions, and I'm excited to answer them. I have some stuff up, and I want to share. So good stuff.
Cool, awesome. Dale says, "What's up?" And then look at that good-looking book on the shelf. So I think he's pointing to about where my finger is, more or less. It's his book. Something that we were very happy to be a part of the production of. So yeah, congrats on releasing that recently, Dale. And Dale, again, congrats on Secrets to the Perma-Free book. I will include a link down below, folks. If you're interested in that, definitely check that out. And let's see what else we've got. Lance here. Says, what is Draft2Digital doing to accommodate on-demand print needs? Yeah, that's a good question. Did you find any details about that yet, Jordan?
No, I think probably the most updated information on that is on the FAQ for the print on demand. I think that the biggest question in my mind is what is it doing for you? I think it definitely, if you weren't using Amazon, if you were just going digital and you wanted to get it out to other places, I think that's a perfect option. But yeah, if you were using maybe just paperback or something like that, again, that's my biggest question. What's the value of using Draft2Digital print on demand versus KDP print? And I don't know that. So.
Right. Yeah, I would be curious as well to find out. And again, folks, let us know if this is an interesting topic, something we can kind of dive into and look at a little bit more. Also, just comparing things like print quality. I know that Ingram Spark and KDP Print are roughly about the same, but some people prefer one or the other. Lulu's another printer that has different options in terms of paper stock, in terms of trim size availability, etc. So when you're looking at another player on the market, such as perhaps Draft2Digital, it might be useful to do some sort of side-by-side comparison if people are interested in doing that and not going just with the more common options.
Yeah.
All right. And Lance also says, I also heard that Draft2Digital gives their artists extra promo placement that the average Joe wouldn't get on their own. That's pretty cool. I'm not familiar with that. Do you know anything about that, Jordan?
No, I have not heard about that. I'd love to hear where you heard that or what types of offerings they have with that. I don't know if it's standard or if you can maybe pay for extra placements or something like that. That would be really interesting to know, because again, that could, if there were something you got extra promo placements, that could kind of lend itself toward the paperback discussion if there was something that Draft2Digital was doing to kind of push. I would love to know more about that. So Lance, if you remember where you heard that or could direct us or could post some links there, that would be super helpful and interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Feel free to leave those in the comments, either here on the live chat or in the main video after we are concluded here. Be happy to learn more and share anything that we have found. Great insight, Lance. Another question. I have a question about the platform that goes into the public library system. Do you get paid for that, or is that a free distribution route? So I can answer that. And the answer is, in general, you do get paid for that. It may not be quite as much as an actual sale because of the licenses that they have set up, but it is a good way for you to make your book available for free to people who are interested in it and who don't have the funds necessarily to support you, but at the same time, offer a little bit of an incentive and a financial kickback for you as the creator. So it is not a free route. It doesn't require it to be free. Obviously, if it's perma-free, then yes, it's going to be. Yeah. But yes, if you set it at another retail price, then depending on the particulars of the platform and the channel, the distribution channel that you're selecting, you do receive a portion of the of that earning when somebody checks it out.
Yep. And I'll share them. I have it up. My book is Which one did I pick? Volcanic Momentum. I have that up as $14.99 for the library price. And I get 49 cents for every checkout in Hoopla. And then for Overdrive, I get 70 cents per checkout. So again, not a whole lot, but it is a checkout. It is something else. And you get to set that, and you'll see that when you put your book and all the pricing in Draft2Digital. It'll give you that information.
Cool. Great. Yeah, I love it. Thanks for sharing some particular numbers to get a sense of what that all looks like. And let's see. Another question from Lance. I also heard that something about Draft2Digital having an easy route to getting your book up in professional audio. Is that true? So I'm not too familiar with their audio options or availability. What do you know about that?
Oh, I looked into it briefly. It looks like they partner with Findaway Voices, at least from what I could find. So that's very interesting. I don't know if it's something that you can upload your file directly to Draft2Digital and then have them put it over to Findaway Voices. That brings a whole nother set of questions. Is it worth it to upload your audio directly to Findaway Voices, or is it worth it to use Draft2Digital for that if it's just one place, or if you want to have everything in one place? So that's a great question as well. I know I think that's relatively new that they're starting to do that. I think the same thing with paperbacks. I didn't even know that they offered that because I just haven't considered it as an option before. Right. So I think they are offering some new things, which is always exciting to see something like that, them offering new things, because that always gives you a feeling like, okay, they're in it, they're updating things, they're live, they're doing new stuff and having some new tools there. So that's cool. Yeah. But yeah.
And one of the nice things about that, I think Findaway Voices would allow you to do this as well. I have known individuals who don't have access to Audible accounts. So for example, if you're in Audible or ACX, I should say, only makes their titles available in certain places. So if you don't have, for example, I think a US or a UK or a handful of other countries also offer tax ID numbers, for which you can set up an account directly with them. If you set it up on someplace like Findaway Voices or perhaps Draft2Digital, then you're able to get a backdoor into some of these markets that you wouldn't have access to otherwise. I've also encountered individuals, one person who did something they weren't supposed to do with their ACX account and got their ACX account cut off, but they were still able to produce other audiobooks through Findaway, through an aggregate distributor, and still have access to that format. So that's another thing to look at. depending on your circumstances and your location, you may want to go through an aggregate publisher to make your audiobook available. Findaway is a very good option. I actually just was speaking with a prospective client today and kind of sharing a little bit about it. You're not going exclusive with ACX, and that's a whole other set of questions. But if you'd like not to go exclusive with ACX, then Findaway makes it available in a number of different places. So all great questions, Lance. Thanks for sharing.
No, those are really helpful at questions to answer at the end, because that just helps us to think about what we're talking about, and also potential other videos as well. So I'm grateful for the ideas. That's great.
Yeah, cool. Well, I think that's it for now for us. If anybody else out there has additional thoughts, comments, questions, leave them down below. We will do our best to address them either in the comments or afterward. And oh, hold on. One last thing. It looks like Len says on Mark Dawson's show.
Got it at the buzzer.
Yeah, got it at the buzzer. On Mark Dawson's show, but never spoke about it with them. They say they have a big pull with Google Play and Apple Store. So I think maybe he's referring to the extra promotional placement. So great. Thank you, Lance, for that lead. That's something we can look into and try and find out a little bit more. But okay. Wrapping up once again, thank you everybody for commenting. Thanks for Dale and Lance for stopping in. Thanks for your questions and comments. Leave any additional thoughts down below. We're happy to address them, and let us know what you want to know more about, and we will do our best to provide it in future installments. And with that said, have a great evening, everybody.